on yours,
Oh, maybe I
Kimberly.
will start. Oh, there we go.
Like I said to Mr. Sandino, I'm a person with a computer, not a computer person. Yeah. I'm sorry to say.
So you all know we are live on YouTube now, guys.
Okay.
Life as we know it is changing fast.
Yes, it is.
Hello, everyone. Let's give it a few more minutes because I see we don't have quite enough to create a quorum here. Hello, Howard.
Hello. I spoke with Eric Frausto, so he has the information. He's logging in. I spoke to him maybe 20 minutes ago.
Okay.
So he has the Zoom information. Let me text Joseph Martin.
Hi, Kimberly. Hi, Howard.
Hi, how are you?
You're not going to say hello to me?
Oh, hi, Andy. Where's Terry?
I'm Terry.
He's there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And who is it that I'm speaking to?
That was Jeff Atwell's son, who's looking at the
Jeff.
video screen. He's one of the
Future member.
commissioners.
I'm sorry, what?
He's one of the
Future
commissioners.
member.
I'm sorry. Eric Frausto is here.
I'm sorry, who?
Eric Frausto, one of the commissioners.
I am.
Okay.
I'm gonna text Michael Sinde because he replied yesterday he was gonna do this meeting. Let me just text him before we begin.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can, Eric.
Okay, I'm trying to get a visual here. See if I
Are
can-
you on a laptop or a phone?
Yes, I'm on a laptop.
So you're on the bottom left. If you hover over the bottom, it should be mute, start video.
Yeah, I tried getting it on my phone, but I was having trouble.
Yeah. Mike Cindy is here now too. Jeff and Cliff.
Okay.
There you go, Eric.
Hey, hi, everybody.
All right.
Okay. We might as well go ahead and get started. I think we have enough. Let's take roll, please. Make sure we have a quorum.
Yeah. Clifford Griffin,
Here.
Jeff Atwell here, Kimberly Byrne,
Here.
Eric Frausto,
Here.
absent Vonda Harding, Michael Sinde, and
Here.
oh,
I'm here.
you don't show up yet, so sorry about that, Michael.
I don't show up. Okay.
Not on mine, anyways. And then absent Joseph Martin.
Okay.
We do have a quorum.
All right, very good. Well, this evening, what we're going to review is an appeal on property. I've got all my own papers. The property located at 2633 New Street, Blue Island. Okay,
Correct.
and the way we're going to run this is that, number one, we're going to listen to the homeowner, and she can give her explanation as to the circumstance. We question her, and then the city will go next, and they will present their case. So the ruling today would either be in favor of the homeowner and or the city of Blue Island itself. So I noticed that the homeowner was here.
Was where?
On the phone. Can you
Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. We're all trying to get accustomed to this.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you state your name and the address and the reason that you're here for us, please, for the record?
Terry Schuneman, SCHUENEMANN. In regards to the property at 2633 New Street in Blue Island. And my appeal is the rear house or coach house, or I don't know how you want to classify it.
Okay, why don't you go on and explain it to us, please?
All right. Well, I guess I'm kind of confused because the appeal was sent, and it doesn't appear that the people that are on this call have the papers that I presented, which I assumed was the appeal.
Well,
I think we have all the papers.
We have all the documents that is necessary for this, but for the record, so we enter it in, we need you to kind of explain it to us. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir. The papers that I presented were a certificate, a plot of survey, inspections that have been done on both the front and the rear house. The different documents that stated it was 2 units, and I also presented ones that said that they were 1 unit, that it was 1 unit. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And this has been going on for quite some time. It's getting pretty expensive. And I'm looking tonight, my goal is to have an understanding and hopefully in writing, because I can't seem to get answers from the board, the people that I've contacted in the past, the realtors that have tried to contact different people. And it's understandable. I mean, it is a different day and age, as we're on the phone this evening. Last week I had an appointment with a doctor on the telephone. Everything has changed in a New York minute.
Yeah,
and I'm looking to the house, the rear house is, I don't know how you want to classify it. I call it a coach house, whatever, is a separate dwelling from the front house. It has had inspections. As a matter of fact, I've had 2 buyers for it, both of which have backed out because of unanswered questions in regards to the house. A number of inspections. Radon, they brought in all the equipment. Termite, all those inspections have all been done, and the city inspections, which has some, minor problems with it because I am selling the house as is. I'm no longer able to afford the house.
Well, let me first ask you this. What is your disagreement with the findings of what the building department has stated to you?
They said that it was a garage.
Okay.
I've lived there over 50 years and it's never been a garage. My parents had it before me. It was not a garage. It has always been a rear building, I guess, if you want to put it that way, if you don't want to call it a house. I was very fortunate that there was such a building on the property. And with today's day and age, it might even be more prevalent if you've seen the articles in the paper and ARP and things like that as a related living. I took care of my mother and a caregiver back there. I took care of my father, and thank God I had those things. They didn't have to go to a nursing home. And both people that were interested in the property, to put bids on and so forth, that's what they were looking for, was related living. It seems to be, you know, instead of putting a loved one in a nursing home, you can still be able to see them.
Okay. Does any of the, go ahead.
No, and like I said, I'm looking to find what can be done with it, or what is it that I have to do if you find it not to be, you know, a secondary resident.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Can you tell me how long have you occupied the house?
Over 50
family?
years.
So
My children grew up there. They went to St. Benedict's. They went to, well, they went to Mother Macaulay. But
do you currently reside in the house or no?
No.
How long ago did you vacate the house?
Well, actually, it's been a couple of months. And prior to that, I must admit that it's been on and off. But I did vacate it. Maybe it's 2 months now, when the rioting things were going on. I lived there by myself, so at that point in time.
Was there someone living in that back facility during that period of time? Or has it been vacant?
In the last 2 months, it's been vacant.
What about prior to that 2 month period?
I was there on and off.
Was it your primary residence, or did you have another primary residence?
I had another residence.
Which was your primary? This one or another one?
Well, as far as
you have primary residence for like tax purposes. For any purposes.
2633 New Street.
You currently live there?
No, sir.
Okay.
So when you lived there 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, were you occupying the front property or the back property?
At different times, I lived in the front when my mother was being taken care of with the caregiver in the back. And when she wasn't, I lived in the back.
Is there a way to give us a timeline of these items of when you were occupying the front or back, or just a ballpark, you know, say from, you know, July 2018 to, you know, June 2019, I was occupying the front and no one was in the back, or vice versa. Is there any way to give us a timeline of these items?
Okay.
It doesn't have to be exact. I think that's just one of the concerns that I have is just getting a timeline of these things.
Okay. The majority of the time I lived in the front.
Sure.
Okay. And the last 2 years, I've kind of gone back and forth.
Yep.
Because, yeah, I'm trying to empty out the front house after living there 50 years, and my parents was emptying that out. I was living in the back, and then I would go back and forth. So, but all in all, most of my life I've lived at that address in Blue Island.
Sure.
Anyone else?
And you currently listed the house as how did you list the house when you're selling the property?
I didn't list it. The realtor listed it.
How does he have it listed? Does he have it listed as related living, coach house, 2 units?
Coach house, I believe carriage house is how they described it
Okay.
when I was looking at some papers today. because for the documents that I sent with the letter on the different inspection reports and things like that. For each one of those that I have more. Like I said, I've sent some that say that it's 2 units. I have some that say it's 1 unit. You know, I didn't know, and never was it presented to me, because even when I went for inspection, sir, I was charged for 2 units, and inspections were done on both. And nothing was ever brought at that point in time to my attention that this was not right, or there was something wrong in it, until the people that were going to buy it started questioning. I don't know what they were looking for, and came back saying that it couldn't be.
When did you originally list it for sale? Is this the first time you just listed it 2 months ago or 3 months ago, or did you list it prior?
I listed it prior, sir.
And when you listed it prior, were you living in it, or was it vacant at the time?
Yes, I was living in it. I was living in it. And that was, I guess I can get you the date. It's on the papers here. It was December of 2018.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question when it's a good time.
Go ahead.
Ms. Schooneman, thank
Yes.
you for bringing your challenge to our appeal board. Hopefully we can get this resolved.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Of course.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is you have mentioned that your parents lived or were living on the property. Was
Yes,
this
ma'am.
their house at any time?
Yes, it was. They bought it in the 60s. I was just graduated from high school. I was going away to college. And then they had it together until I want to say 90, when they got divorced, and my mother purchased it from my father.
Through the divorce settlement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was you probably weren't involved at that point, but usually when there's potentially a transfer of title,
Yes, ma'am.
there's also other, either inspections or assessments or that sort of thing often happening at the same time.
Right. And I have that. There was a plot of, excuse me, I'm sorry. There's a plot of survey that was done when my mom purchased it.
Okay.
Okay. And it shows 2 residents. And that was in the packet that I sent.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. You mentioned that they purchased it in the 60s.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's all I have for right now.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Do you know when, I just obviously going back a long period of time, do you know when they purchased it, was that back already converted to a second unit, or was that something they did, or was that done in 1990
No,
when your mom purchased?
No, when they purchased it, there was an elderly couple that lived back there. I remember their name. Called them Grandma and Grandpa Mercer. And they lived back there for a good number of years until the gentleman died and the wife went into a nursing home.
I've got a question.
Sure.
The certificate of survey is 1979. Is that, I assume that's when your parents were divorced.
Okay. There's something else that's 94. I'm sorry. Like I said, for every paper that I have another one that, okay, I don't know why I was looking at the certificate of survey. 94. I thought I had all these papers spread out in front of me. So.
Take your time.
I'm not certain which one it was. Again, like I said, I have all these papers here in front of me. As a matter of fact, I had to get some deeds today that Mr. Campari wanted. And that shows and states, and that, I'm trying to look at the date on that, says that that there's two places on it, and it's a trustee deed, because when my mom passed, the trust went to me. 2002.
Do you have other documents, the deed transfer from in your parents' name to in your mother's name?
From my mother's name to my name?
No, from when your parents got divorced, when it was changed from their name as maybe.
It went from my father. My mother bought it from my father.
So it was in your father's name?
It was in both their names, I believe.
Okay, but it was transferred then into your mother's name. Do you have the deed
Correct.
for the date of when that deed was transferred? Was that also 1979 or somewhere?
I'm looking at the transfer deed. It says 2002, but that's when it went from my mother to me.
Right.
2002.
Okay. So basically, on any document you have, it does not state on there that that particular structure is a coach house. Am I correct or wrong?
It doesn't say that it's a coach house. It just says 2 units. It doesn't specify. Family has always considered it front house, rear house.
Do you know, is there 2 separate water meters, 2 separate electric meters?
Yes, sir. There's all of those.
So those are all separated. And do you know how
Yes,
you
sir.
pay a Cook County tax bill? Is it taxed as a multifamily or is it taxed as a single family?
You know, that's what I've spent a good deal of time trying to find out.
We can look it up on a Cook County
like I
tax
said.
portal in a few minutes here.
Okay, I was just going to say I've tried all kinds of things, and I don't know. I pay one set of taxes, I guess, if that helps you in any way.
Well, the property is one address.
Yes, sir. But like I said, I have so many papers that say 2 units, even from the city of Blue Island.
$26.33, right?
Yes, sir. It is one property with 2 residents on it. And in the last, in the last conversations I've had with Mr. Sandino and Mr. Campari, I understand that, I don't know, Blue Island doesn't want 2 residents on one piece of property. That's understandable. I'm just asking for related living. Like I said, all in great need these days. Great need. It saved me.
I know that the mayor of Chicago is in favor of it, even though she's
Yes.
doesn't have
Yes, he
precedence
is.
over over Blue Island.
Right.
She
And
does
there
not have
was a
precedence
very
over Blue
big-
Island,
Right,
nor
Pardon?
do we follow their lead on everything.
right.
Oh, no, I
just want to
understand.
be clear. She doesn't have precedence over Blue Island, nor do we follow Chicago's lead on everything.
Agreed,
We're
agreed.
Okay, you brought that up for a reason. They're a separate municipality
No,
for a reason.
just a voice for Illinois. It's going through, there's a coach house kind of, it's going through, there's a log that's going through, a proposal going through Springfield right now to bring back the ability to allow coach houses.
Well, that's being
That hasn't
proposed.
passed.
That's being
There's been a-
proposed. That doesn't mean
Yeah,
it's going to
right.
pass. But obviously, I mean, you're getting the carpet for the horse
Excuse
here. I
me,
don't
I'm
want
sorry.
to confuse people here. So,
Just for information purposes, let me describe what related living is. Related living is 1.5, or 2 stories, 2-story home that offers a separate private living area for related living. The main home offers all the features of a standard home while, and this is a key word, while the attached related living quarters provide a separate kitchen, living room area, and bedroom. Key word is attached for related living. That's how these houses are built. This is 2 separate
structures.
buildings. Yeah, structures. So again,
Yes, sir.
related living is both units under one roof.
And when this building was built, that separate structure in the back was not a separate, what do you want to call, coach house, but it was converted at some point in time. It was,
It was
a
never
garage.
converted, sir, not in 50
Not
plus
your-
years. I'm sorry, what?
You may not have converted it, but the prior owner may have converted it.
My mother and father did not.
No, the prior owner.
It
may
was
have converted
already
it.
there, and there was, I couldn't tell you that. And everything that's been done to it back there, I mean, new electrical, new heating, which needs to be replaced, and all those things have been in place and have gotten permits and have gotten new roofs, new siding. I've had all those permits done. And nobody made mention that it's not right.
To that point, part of the documentation that Mr. Kapari has provided to us, there is a Sanborn map for the years 1911 to 1949, where there are 2 Ds on the property. I believe D is dwelling as opposed to A for accessory. So, and I believe there's another photo, a blurry photo, that shows in 1936, 39, that there were 2 dwellings at that point. So sometime between 1911 and 1939, a dwelling was erected. Now, it's called a D, and unfortunately what we don't have is we don't have the ordinance for prior to 1971 to see how dwelling is defined, how accessory dwelling unit is defined, to help guide us with what was the code at the time it may have been built. We are going by the guiding of 1971, which is the most current, but the code that in the time that it was built should have some kind of standing.
So I looked up the Cook County Tax Assessor's website and looked at it's taxed as a single family home. It's
Okay.
taxed
Yeah, no, I
as
said I pay
2
one
dash-
tax. Yeah.
No, one. I mean, you could a multifamily and have 1 tax bill,
Oh,
but that's
okay.
how it's classified with the Cook County.
I see.
It's not classified
That's
as a
why I didn't
multifamily
find-
home
okay.
like a 2
Right.
plat would be. where you have one story and, one first floor unit, one second floor unit.
Excuse me.
This is classified as a single family class. The technical name is 2-03, which is a single family residence.
Right. And both Mr. Sandino and Mr. Campari explained to me why one of my original questions was, how are you saying that it's zoned R1 when there's a 6 flat right next door to me? But they explained it to me.
No, that's residential versus commercial. That's a totally different question. Yeah. So does the city want to state their case? I know that Ahmed was online here a minute ago, or is there anyone else that has any questions?
Yeah. Okay, why don't we move on to the city? Howard, you want to state your position?
I'd rather defer to Ahmed because
Okay.
he was the one that created the determination letter that's being appealed upon.
Okay,
I'm here just to support with additional zoning information if requested by the board.
Ahmed, would you like to speak your case, please?
Yes, good afternoon to the board, to everyone. I'm sorry that I probably hear some noise. I'm on the road. It's still trying to get home. But yes, I've been listening to a conversation and to a statement of Mrs. Schumann. Yes, I did some finding. I mean, I did some investigation on that, and I noticed one time that Mr. Berry issued a letter in August 12, 2014. And that one referred to the property as a zoning R1 single family residence, and it says number of unit on record, it says 1. And he was the deputy director of community development. Then I did some, I did the part of the investigation, and then yes, she claims that there's some other document that shows too. But as from my own experience, that I've seen in the past, this is almost like a typical Chicago city lot. 30 feet wide by 120 feet deep. This is a single family home structure in front. It's a balloon frame house that was built back over 100 years ago still. And the rear part of the house normally is considered a garage. If we look at the structure of the back, which my finding says is a garage, because the height of the garage is almost 15 feet, what she's got there. It looks like at one time it could have been actually like a carport or something, and then they did some sort of renovation onto it. And then I went on and tried to get the actual
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
description of what a really coach house was, and I added up. I'm sure that every one of you have the documents that I put in where a coach house in the old days, it was a very well developed structure of the primary, and then also had a separate garage. And we still have few in Blue Island, because there are a few houses that we have: coach house, we have our main house, and a garage. So that's what I found, and then on all the documents that I have there, yes, some of them say yes, some of them refer still to a single family home, and that's where I stand. And also based on the ordinance of City of Blue Island, I followed what was given to me, and the reason of having the single family home and having a garage that will be or a house that could be used for something else. So that's what I found, and I attached, and I put some on the document, and I explain the reason and what we have in our findings from the building department. So, and I talked to Mrs. Schumann in several times, and I explained to her the differences, and she kept saying what she explained to us, that she had it that way. But in terms of comparing the structure, and I go back again, in terms of the history, the size, the height, and the width and everything, it stands to me like a garage. Even though somebody mentioned about the water meter and gas meter, that doesn't actually it doesn't qualify. You can have 3, 4, 5 meters on any property, and that doesn't qualify to be a multiple, a multi-unit or anything, but it becomes still residential. There was a lot of property that I've been finding back in City of Blue Island that they are non-conforming, and at the same time, it's like they have to be converted back to a residential as what the ordinance requires since 1972.
1922?
No, 1972.
Now that you say that, I'm going to jump in here. There's a picture of a letter in the papers that were submitted where Joseph Basil states
My
that
father?
Yes, it states that he is the owner of the property at 2633 New Street. It's a dull letter. This is a single dwelling, and I reside in same. I will be doing my own electrical work according to the Blue Island Code. And then he goes on to state what his experiences in the electrical work. Do you recall your father doing electrical work in both buildings?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. The reason I asked normal, just so we can see when we have no documentation of if it was a garage at one time, when it was converted into a living quarters.
Well, other question. Is a garage considered a dwelling? Yes. So what we don't know is, according to the map, if it was a garage or if it's actually a residential dwelling back between 1911 and 1949.
There's a driveway that goes to it. Okay, so there's a driveway that goes directly to the structure. That is.
Can you date that driveway though?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Can you date that driveway?
No, I'm just telling you. I've walked past the house probably weekly, and there's a driveway. I just walked past it again this evening before the meeting. There's a driveway that goes directly to the structure, built for a vehicle.
And that part of that driveway was poured by, while we were there. It was a garden.
Does that driveway lead up to the building?
It does now. It didn't then. When it was originally purchased, it didn't. It only went up to the gate.
To the gate at the front of the property?
No, ma'am, it's in the back. It's at the end of the front house.
Right, in the picture that we saw in the picture.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Sandino, is there anything else you want to add to this, or?
No, I explained that part and I submitted the document.
Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions regarding?
Yeah, I think one of the bigger questions here, whether it's a 2-unit or 1 unit, is the city of Blue Island, I think, has a code basically says if it's been unoccupied for the last 6 months, then it has to be repurposed for the original purpose of the structure. Now, we don't know the original purpose of the structure. We can't go back in time and verify that, but you can't occupy both properties at the same time. So in the last
both
6
properties.
months, well, the front
Both
unit and the back
properties?
unit. The front unit and the back unit. If they're
The
two
front
separate
unit,
units.
I've not. Yes, sir, I understand. The front unit, I haven't been in over 6 months. I mean, I visited just about daily, and my landscaper or guy that cuts the grass and does stuff, he hasn't been doing a very good job. And I've come down in the last 2 years with asthma, very bad. So I've not been able to do it. I used to take care of it myself.
Sure.
So I'm there all the time.
Well, the simple.
But no, I've not lived in the front house in over a year.
And you currently don't live
The
in
back house, yes. In the back house, I've been in and out of there, but in the last 2 months, I have not been living there at all.
It's different than the information that we've received.
Yes.
Okay.
I understand in some of the
I-
paperwork that there have been multiple inspections.
Yes, ma'am.
The city inspections.
Yes.
Does it indicate those times you were living in the back property?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are there any other questions regarding this particular issue? Okay, Ms. Schuneman, hold on a minute. We're going to kind of discuss and take a vote on it and see where we stand from that point on.
Cliff, I'm sorry, I was muted. I wanted to ask one more question.
Go ahead.
Just to
No
clarify.
problem. No problem.
Clarify, you have not lived in the primary building of this address in the last year.
Yeah, it'll be almost a year. Yes, sorry. The front house is what we're talking about.
Which is the primary
Because,
of the property.
yes, sir, I've not lived there, no.
Okay.
I emptied that out almost a year ago.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Howard, is there anything you want to add to this?
Not necessarily. I think the findings that I presented to the zoning board speaks for itself.
And has everybody reviewed those findings? Everybody kind of understand what Howard's report states?
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
I'm
Were you
talking about
speaking with me?
No, the board.
Okay,
members.
sorry.
Just relax a minute, Mrs. Schumann. We'll be with you in a minute. Okay, does anybody have a recommendation that they would like to present?
I guess I have a question for Howard.
Okay.
We have heard requests for variances for people with properties with coach houses before. I'm certain that we're going to hear more requests in the future. At some point, would it be appropriate for the city to perhaps, write something into the code to specifically address these properties that have grandfathered non-compliant structures that are kind of a burden on the owners to sell or do anything with?
So if you look at the variance requirements, there's nothing about a variance applying for a coach house. We did have a case 2 years ago prior to me starting. The people here promised the homeowner who purchased the property with two structures, a two-family and a two-unit coach house, to have a variance heard. This was promised before I came on board, so I respected the promise of my predecessors and brought it to the Zoning Board of Appeals. You guys unanimously denied it on the grounds that we can't allow for a coach house of that magnitude. What came out of that variance request that the homeowner could keep the two-family house because it falls under the UTOD's district, which allows for two families or a single family. But the coach house, in that example, was demonstrated very clearly that it was not lived in for more than 2 years, from the person selling it to the person buying it.
Right. I remember that case very well. What I'm saying is that wasn't resolved to that person's desire. And it sounds like that's the direction that this is possibly going. And it's going to be something that comes up again in the future with other properties that have coach houses when the owners try to sell?
So we have the nonconformity section, and this is the testing of the validity of the coach house. This is done during the building permit process when one person is selling the structure or the property versus the other person buying it. In all the communities that I've worked for the last 20 years, no one has ever applied for a variance for a secondary, we call it here, principal structure. That's just simply not allowed or even recommended.
In those municipalities, is it as common of occurrence as it is in Blue Island for there to be a secondary structure?
Yes and no. I've worked in a community in New Hampshire where there were actually plot plans from the 1920s that said single-family house, and they had little inscriptions, a little shed or a little garden. So it's not unheard to see these types of documents and certificate of occupancies from the 20s, especially in the New England area where I lived. Here, we don't have anything for this property, especially for the principal primary house, 1897, and the secondary structure from 1911 to 1939 is the estimate that I give that was built. So you have to keep in mind, by 1926, we have zoning. Zoning even goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, and it's validated as a legal enforcement document. Hence the reason why municipalities throughout the United States have planning and zoning. So from 1911 to 1926, there was a possibility that this structure was built as a carport, a coach house, then it was converted into apartment. From 1911 to 1939, there was some type of documentation process here. So getting back to that example, our legal department, especially in that variance that was heard 2 years ago, made it very clear about the idea of variances for coach houses. And this is information that cannot be disclosed to the public because it was confidential information to the zoning board members. So I cannot repeat anything what this attorney said.
Understood.
She keeps talking about it as a related living. And I think, Eric, you brought up a good point. You define what a related living is. It's a same structure. So I think we need to make sure, we're clear that it's not a related living building, but actually two separate structures.
My comments are basically, again, I have to go back to that 1911 to 1949 Sanborn map that labels it as a D. It's not an A, it's not an accessory building, which I believe an accessory building would be a coach house, correct? Howard?
I'm taking notes. Sorry, I was writing. Can you repeat the questions?
An accessory building unit is a coach house, not a dwelling.
Right.
Okay. So it's been labeled as a dwelling, but one of the challenges that I still have is a lack of information, which is what did the code say? What did the earlier code list as a dwelling? Did it have accessory? It had accessory buildings, but what was the definition under the earlier definition? So because this was built at an earlier time, prior to 1971, prior to 1949, and potentially looks like prior to 1939, I would practically want to stand on the fact that it was built during a time that we don't have represented right now. And we have nothing really to say or argue against the fact that it's been there. We don't know how it's been converted over time. We don't know what it was to begin with. But it was labeled as a dwelling. So I find it hard to argue with the fact that it could have been a garage, and according to our current code, I We don't know.
You walked past the building or been past the structure?
I see it on the pictures. I mean, my original comment was based on the height and the way has been built. It could have been a garage.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of low height houses built as well.
I
If you go
understand,
around
but
the
I just,
country.
if you walk past it, it looks pretty apparent. Like Ahmed said, that it was built as a carport or a garage. If you look at the structure, you physically walk past it, it's got a driveway going directly to it, but it looks like directly built as a garage. Now we don't know that for sure. You know, that's visually what it looks like now in 2020. Who knows when it was originally built? But just
Right.
Well, I
So
think
that's my. We don't know. We don't have enough information.
I think even the inside dimensions are that are equivalent to a garage itself.
But
I-
D,
I'm past
They
the
are.
property myself, but I do have a question.
Mhm.
Mike, maybe you can answer this. The rear line of the property, as it sits on the lot, is how far away from the backside of this coach house? Or are we talking 3 feet off the property line, like a normal garage would be, with an apron maybe?
The back property, yes, the second property in the back is basically butts up to the property lines of the other people, of their neighbors.
Okay, no alleys, right?
great.
No alleys at New Street right there.
Mhm.
It has almost a shared driveway as well. So like the neighbor to the east, the driveways are pretty shared. It looks like at one point there was a little median built between the two, but there's a
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, do I have a recommendation from someone? Either to side with the homeowner or to side with the city?
I will recommend a side with the city of Blue Island.
Okay, let's have a vote on it.
Did you have a second, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right. Clifford Griffin,
Yes.
Jeff Atwell, yes. Kimberly Byrne,
No.
Eric Frausto,
Yes.
Michael Sinde.
Yes.
Motion is 4-1 in favor of accepting the city's recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Okay, with that in mind, Mrs. Schumann, what I would suggest,
sir.
we have decided to side with the city's position on this. And what I would suggest with you is that you work with Howard to come up with a reasonable solution. I think he said that you can list it as related living or whatever the case may be. But I would go with those, what his suggestions might be. And that should work out for you. It shouldn't hamper you in any way.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's just, it seems like I was just voted against, and I have no, I don't know what the future of the House depends on. The way you've just voted, I don't know what that'll be. And you're saying that Mr. Campari can come up with a reasonable
Well, I think he's
way to do this?
I think he's already suggested several ways that you might be able to list the property or what you could do with that particular facility. But it's not a coach house and it can't be advertised as one. So,
Okay, it can't be advertised as one,
right.
but it can be advertised as related living. And I guess I have to ask, sir, after all these inspections and everything, this has never been brought to my attention previously?
That I can't speak to. We do apologize for all of that because the city itself has gone through a lot of transition in the past 5 or 6 years. So, you know, a lot of things that we have to do now to kind of set the path for the future. You know, there is a
No,
lot,
I understand.
you see. So
That's
we do
why
have-
I thought that I was always told, or told numerous times, that everything's grandfathered in. Don't worry about it. I mean, when I had it resided and the roof put on, said, you know, should I do these things or am I going to have to tear it down at some point in time? It was like, no, you know, it's not even a question. It's grandfathered in, is what I was told.
And again,
You know, I understand.
in the case of a roof, I mean, you know, it won't pass inspection for a loan if there's a roof that is needed. You will have to change that. But, you know, the simple fact.
No,
that-
I'm saying in the past is when I've replaced these things.
Yeah.
It was never brought to my attention and questioned about it. You know, I mean, I questioned, should
Yeah.
I do these things?
Yeah. No,
And it was like, yeah, go ahead, you know.
I understand, and
Okay.
I deeply apologize.
So,
for that. Howard, you wanted to say
and
something?
Yeah, Howard wants to interject here for a moment. So as I
Certainly.
suggested in my findings, we should mimic the definition of the latest code, the 1971 zoning code. It does make reference to a guest house. So we should call this a guest house. The primary structure,
Okay.
a guest house. Now, I want for all the board members to hear this. Part of the zoning definition also says that a guest house cannot contain a kitchen unit, so that has to be removed through a building permit. I want everybody to be clear how Howard is going to interpret this recommendation for calling it a guest house instead of related living, because we have no definition of that in the zoning code.
Okay, but may I say something, please?
Sure.
Okay. My thing is when Howard said this about a guest house,
Hmm.
my thing is that when I utilized it, and like I've mentioned a number of times tonight, for my parents, when I had the caregiver and my mother living there, you almost, when you need that much care, you almost need a kitchen. I mean, you can't run back and forth from the front house to the back house with the things that you need when you're caring for somebody. That was my only.
We understand that, but you're selling the property, correct?
And like I said, both people that wanted to buy it in the last 3 months is what they wanted it for.
Okay. Well, now
They
you have,
wanted it for, I'm sorry, what, sir?
Were they going to rent both units? Were they going to occupy both units? We don't know that. We can't perceive that or go back in time.
No, there was, oh, I'm sorry. This was for their parents.
yeah. Well, what this does is get you in a direction where you can target your market to a specific buyer that will be interested in that property, and nothing will be out of alignment. But I still highly recommend that you work with the building department so that you're not out of a lot of money. Number one,
I'm already out of a lot of money, and I have none to spare right at the moment.
I understand.
You know, and like I said, you know, it was so good that it happened, you know, where I could take care of my parents there, because it's a small fortune when you have to take care of elderly people. And that's what's put me behind the 8 ball.
Well,
So
I understand.
I know.
I believe.
So, but like I said, the future of the house is depending on this.
Yeah.
And,
So
you know,
it does give you a clear direction to go, that you're not continually speculating as to what is what. Now you have a clear definition. So, you know, we wish you well with it. And please work with the building department, and believe me, Howard will make sure that you're represented well.
both Howard and Mr. Sandino have helped me immensely in different things in this regard in the last couple of months.
Very good.
But it's very difficult when you're going through transitions, and I'm the one that has to pay the price. So I understand that, you know, things have to change. Just didn't want it to happen on my watch.
Yeah. Well, we understand. So
you know.
that's
So,
it.
I mean,
Go ahead.
no, I mean, just like I said, you know, the people that were interested in it, I mean, they've backed away and everything else. Now I don't know, you know, okay, I can list it as a guest house, but not as a coach house.
Yeah.
I can't list it as related living. I don't know. I'm in trouble. So.
Oh, believe me, it'll work out for you. Is there anything else we need to do at this point?
Other than I'd like in writing.
Does Howard or Ahmed, do you guys know? I think that the city had some funds set aside to help structures that were unoccupied for a certain period of time to be converted to their original use. Does that
Yeah.
kind of sound familiar?
That's for a two-family to a single family, and that's for a building permit.
Okay.
Yes.
So that would not apply here?
Are waived.
I would imagine not.
No, because we're talking about a single structure that is
Sure.
multifamily that's converted back into a single family in a single family house.
Okay, I just checking to make sure to see if there's anything else the city can do to help.
Very good. Anything else we need to do? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody have a good evening. Good luck,
You as well,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman.
And we'll
Thank you.
see you on the next meeting, okay?
Thank you.
Everybody have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.